Hello everyone. Should be getting started in like 20 seconds. Here's a cat for your enjoyment. Cat disappeared. Never see cat again. Okay. Ask them if they're ready to go. We are casting the BTSL finals today. And we are starting off with Solar versus Zest, as that was the most asked for matchup on Twitter. There's a little bit of chance that Solar wasn't going to be here for quite some time, but he actually showed up perfectly on time, so it's all good. But yeah, BTSL finals, round of 8s, casting 1 best of 3, then 2 best of 5s, then 1 best of 7, all a solo cast, as unfortunately Rivkin's still sick, and Maynard was also not feeling very well after all his travel, so it's just me, yay. But alright, let's get into the game. In the top left is the yellow, that's the color, yellow Zerg. It is Solar. The bottom right is the pink Protoss. It is Zest. Just move this around. Something like that. Yeah. Something like that. Wow. I fixed the issue with OBS, so there shouldn't be any crashing or anything like that as well. I should have just guessed that was the problem immediately, but I feared that it would break everything else, I guess, if I just assumed. But it was the Logitech drivers. I think the drivers themselves are fine, but if you have 2 of the same webcam, even though it looks to be working appropriately, the driver just like flips the fug out. So just uninstalled it and the camera still works, so why do you even bother having it? I don't know. I don't know. But oh well. Yeah, Zest for Solar. Not surprising to see that was the most asked for matchup, as this is a pretty cool one. Solar was at GSL, that's why he might have been late. But the other matchups include Gumi versus Alive, Hurricane versus Patience, and Hero versus Impact. So, like 2 mirror matchups and another ZvP. I said I'm going to be casting both the semifinals and of course the finals. So, well, I may be missing this other matches. The semifinals and finals should be really good. Yeah. As we watch the game unfold, nothing too much happening. Third base on the way, Stargate on the way for Zest. Did have a couple of resubs while we were gone, as well as a new sub. So, where'd it go? Thank you very much to Simply Raph. Almost said Ralph. Simply Raph for the new Twitch Prime sub, as the stream actually started. And then a bunch of people resubbed in the past like 24 hours, so thank you very much as well if you're here and watching. I'm gonna follow Take's camera for a second, even though I know he has the weirdest observing in the world to make a tweet. Ling's dying and stuff, I assume. Yeah, exactly. Okay, tweet made. At Oracle on the way. Evolution Chamber actually on the way for Solar as well. Might go for an Overlord drop later on. There's always that one well-positioned Overlord. Resident Glaze immediately following up that Oracle even before it pops out. It's pretty quick, both being chrono boosted as well. Spore Crawl already on the way out. That Ling got in there after all. Saw what it needed to see. I'm not sure it saw the chrono boost on the Toilet Council, but they saw it was morphing, so the assumption is there that it's probably going to be some type of chrono on whatever upgrade is on the way, and there's a good chance, of course, that it is going to be Resident Glaives. Very quick third base. Solar not preparing to do anything too cheesy. I mean, if he hadn't started +1, maybe he could have gone for like a 3-base all-in. As it is with +1, he's gonna probably want to wait a little bit longer to really utilize that. I mean, sure, you can make 20 lings, and that might get us around on the Nexus and kill it, but you know that their production's also finally kind of starting to kick in, and really they should have good enough SimCity to protect it from just like a very small, light pressure. Now, a bandit is already on the way, as probably preparing for what he knows to be Resident Glaive attacks. A single Phoenix made, just to clear up Overlords. Oracle probably want to go eventually and just at least pre-scout for the Adepts. It's actually just been left here, I suppose, just in case all those lings came out like I was talking about. So it has a lot of energy, but it should be scouting, you know, exactly what's going on. This Overlord actually gets in here. I mean, if it was gonna die, I might as well scout, because it can't turn into a drop Overlord anymore. Double Robo immediately following up the Adepts shading outward like this. He might not even be too committal with the Adepts. Really just focusing on the macro game behind this. Skipped his monster core for a very long time, but now on the way. Stasis Trap Harassment. Alright, it's Abyssal Reef, and this is basically, not the same, but quite similar to the Raven harassment on the map. There's just so much dead space over there that you should almost never lose the unit that you're using. Adepts actually shade to the back of the mineral lines, which was pretty risky, considering that he knew there were, well, he might have only gotten the last second glimpse of the Banelings, but of course by going into that little bit of a, not choke, but just like small area is automatically going to clump up, so that wasn't too great. Another stasis trap, although that all went down too, though, so it catches a couple more drones, as well as the pulsar beam catching some actual drone kills. Thank you to Montyun for the bits. Bitboss is working, but of course the notification thing is still wacko. Still haven't really gotten to know how to fix that. It's supposed to work as is, just literally like, you know, put the browser source in, but it's not working. Whatever. So a little bit of Adept harassment. I mean, he did commit with them, and that might have been scary for a second as he was low, very low on army units. Replaces that with sentries, Militia Corps, a cannon even in that third base. Oracle does almost die. Almost. It's good now. Yeah, point of Zest, I mean, there was that moment of fright if they really were making a lot of Ravagers or Ling Baneling, but it's actually not happening. So it's in a fourth base and Infestation Pit, more upgrades. Zest still has a very small army, and this looks quite risky, but he has the Oracle constantly scouting to see if an army comes out. It still doesn't really use Revelation, mind you, but it is constantly moving around. Still doesn't see the Infestation Pit at all. Queens are constantly threatening its last little bit of hit points. It's pretty low. Ah, there you go. Alright, so no more scouting. We have Swarm Host on the way from that Infestation Pit. Very interesting to see. Overseer once again gets into this base, wants to see what the follow-up is, how quickly you're going into more Twilight Council upgrades, how quickly you're going into, of course, Double Robo, which was like one of the quickest Double Robos I've seen. Following up that Adept attack, but just a bunch of stuff. So I'm not sure it saw the Templar Archives. In fact, it looks like it didn't. No, it did not. So it has no idea if like Storm Super were like fast on the way. But this isn't Roach Ravager. It's not Ling Baneling. It is Swarm Hosts. And I'm not really sure Storm would have been the way to go. So let's talk about Solar Scouting. Of course, Zest having not seen the Infestation Pit can't even like guess at what it could be. Storm Host kind of making a comeback in a very, you know, small uphill climb of a way. But they are coming back, and if you saw the Infestation Pit this early, because this really was pretty early for ZvP, maybe he would have predicted Swarm Host and would have a different response to this. But now, as is, Zest is just going to have to kind of, you know, the Logs are going to come in, and he's going to be like, oh, it's Swarm Host, right? And in fact, there they actually go into that natural. His army was in almost proper placement, as you can see, just by being over at that third base and having to walk back. Loses 9 probes, but it's better than losing a Nexus. And now he knows that the Swarm Hosts are there. And now he sees how many Swarm Hosts are there too. You know, this observer sees like a ton. So Storm could still be helpful, like if you storm them before they get on your units, then fantastic. If you storm them after they get on your units, they're already going to do the DPS. Like, Storm Host DPS is insane. But yeah, if you get it on top of the Storm Host, that isn't so bad either. 160 health, but Storm isn't quite done. The High Templars might be focus fired by Solar as well. They're kind of vulnerable targets right now for these free units. There's a Storm, but they still collapse in on the army. Don't manage to strike down anything too substantial. Actually try to get an Immortal, which I guess it did, but only a singular one isn't too bad. Rest of the army tries to just roll on in. Not working too hot. Not working. Zest does have a 4th base, and maybe as he pushes forward here, he will go for it. But he is taking the opportunity after dealing with that wave to just push back. We have Swarm Hosts, or no, Lings rather, sorry. Lings into that 3rd base, and without a 4th, this would put him back down to 2, well, really 1.5 bases mining. So this is making it into an all-in. There's only so many Storms left over. The Sentry just gets demolished. This Locust come in after the Banelings, and Zest moving out like that ends up being absolutely terrible. I'm not even sure you can save the Immortals. Locust still trying to get there before they run out of their time. Looks like they're not going to really reach, so the Immortals do live, but the 3rd base went down. Not the Probes, funnily enough. And a 4th base was put down as well, but Zest is going to need to replant the 3rd, and that's a lot of cash. Swarm Hosts do have their Locust cooldown, so this is like the one vulnerable part of the composition. But with enough Ling and Baneling, they're going to have to try and really position themselves anyways, and there just isn't that much of an army. So Zest just going to all into the 5 Immortals, and that wasn't going to work. GG. Alright, Solar bringing out Swarm Host again. Looking pretty good. I mean, really the defense of Zest looked good as well. So, like, Swarm Host didn't look like the one-hit wonder, I suppose, that they could have. I mean, he got to, like, 14 of them or something crazy like that without being scouted. And Zest seemed to deal with it in stride. And then he tried counterattacking, you know, take opportunity when they're still on cooldown, hope that they use too many Banelings on the attack, and it just really wasn't the case. Zest choosing Paladino already. Alright, they're ready to go. Let's do it. Not wasting any time. Of course, since I'm solo casting, I'll be taking breaks whenever possible, basically. As I also solo cast yesterday. But, feeling alright. Then you get a Cadence SC for the 4-month resub. Great job at DreamHack, y'all. Thank you. Here we are into game 2. In the top left, down 1. It's his map choice. It is the pink Protoss Zest. In the bottom right is the red Zerg. It is Solar. I guess I missed Maynard resubbing for 9 months earlier as well. Happy 9 months. Sorry for being pathetic and weak. I don't think you're pathetic and weak. Yeah, he was supposed to come on a cast, but I don't know, in the same way that I kind of had a feeling that like Rifkin was going to be sick yesterday. I had a feeling that Maynard was just going to be just a bit too wary after his long flight. I mean, he left Monday nights, like American time, and he has a 19-hour flight back home, plus the time difference, plus whatever stops he had, I suppose. Like, I figure you need quite a few hours past that to really get over all that type of travel, so... And of course, he was casting at DreamHack, who's working, so there's a lot of tired elements going on together. I prepared for the worst. What I didn't prepare for was, of course, the OBS issue. Because yesterday, it crashed my computer once, but then it worked the second time, so I just figured whatever. But no, like, no matter what I did, until I uninstalled the drivers, it was like, just crash, 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 crash. Well, Paladino Terminal is, that's actually a new map pool, so this is kind of, I forgot to kind of mention that, because who plays ladder anyways? No. Yeah, we're on the old ladder map pool, not the new fancy one with like some of the maps from the Team Liquid contest, but Paladino for the last like month or two is basically becoming a lot more popular with the pro gamers map choices. So I see it a lot with the Terrans, which I guess isn't too surprising, but then of course Zest choosing it in his ZvP. There's no limited map pool in BTSL, only in the Lima League, which you were casting yesterday, and I guess the VSL as well, but we, or rather, Rifkin and I don't cast that anymore. Maynard and Zeth do. So I kind of forget to mention it, but yeah, that's the only 2 tournaments where a limited map pool exists. Okay, this is completely around the road. I'm gonna watch it, actually. No, you messed up! Ah! Okay, it's fine. Stargate on the way once again. Followed this up very quickly with the Twilight Council last game. See what he does here. Solely doing regular stuff, you know. 3 hatch, no problem. I would say for Palladino Terminal, you know, when it's TVZ or ZvP, I suppose, too. The point is, there's a lot of aggressive opportunities for Zerg, and I think Terran too, right? Like, Terran does have still 3-Rax Reaper, even if it's not really as popular as it once was. And then, like, I feel like 2-base follow-up tank pushes are also, like, cheesy in a way on this map. But, you know, thinking about what Protoss can really do to take advantage of the small distance on this map, but it's not so obviously, you know, an advantage, I feel, for Protoss when they choose this map. You know, I don't really think they're looking at it like this is how fast I'm going to get to the other base, but it kind of can be. Like, the fact that an Adept shade basically goes across the map and only one shade, like, is probably some of the reason it's chosen. But Zerg, a little bit scarier with their potential early pools or really fast speed, which Solar did not choose to do, being up 1. I think it's a little too obvious. It's almost like a bait when you choose this map against Zerg. Oracle is revealed, but, you know, Zest didn't even really use it last game, and I didn't think it was... Well, I didn't use it at first, I should say. And I didn't think that was a detriment. By the time he actually used it, it was getting stasis traps, and the pulsar beam killed like 10 probes, 10 drones rather. And while I never used Revelation like it was supposed to, it did still get some decent scouting. So if that's what's going to do here again, I don't think that's too much of a problem. So that's going to be getting a little bit earlier of a Mothership Core. I think that's called for on a map where the 3rd base is definitely a little bit riskier to take than Abyssal Reef. He does take the one to the south. Baneling Nest once again on the way for Solar, as well as that +1, so it seems to be doing something very similar to last game. Might see Swarm Host again, which would be interesting. I think this would be a map where that time that I was talking about going to the middle of the map would suck as a Swarm Host player, because that would be the difference of just counterattacking immediately as your locusts are on cooldown and right before, right after they're off cooldown, that kind of deal. Be interesting. Not nearly as big of an Adept attack either, right? Not the 8 Adepts plus that he had, and not with Resident Enclaves. Oracle comes in here, tries to get a couple of kills. But just a little bit of a poke with the Adepts, then runs right back home. Has a Mothership Core, so if it's an overcharge, we'll be able to protect the 3rd base, and it looks like it's going to just be a bit of a macro game. Thank you to Kate. Yeah, actually, I already shouted that out. Just kidding. I thought I saw a new one, or heard a new one, rather. But I'm imagining things now, so that's great. You get a partial double shout out. But while I'm shouting things out, I suppose. This is the BTSL, and it is sponsored by Twitch, but it is also being helped out by Matcherino. That's why the prize pool is bigger than it was before, which is really awesome. And if you guys want to make it even bigger, you can donate to the Matcherino, which is being linked in chat right now, with code BTSL4. We'd like to use all of those codes up, and if you're feeling generous and want to add a bit more because your favorite player is apparently going to get some cash, then please do so. Everything goes to the players, no fees taken, no pay to the casters, nothing like that. Everything to the player. Looks like things are starting to heat up a little bit. So this is, I guess, one of those opportunities Protoss has that they also had on a map called Arena a while ago, which is usually this is too small of an army to ever push out in anything serious because there's like also only 6 force fields. If you're caught in the middle of Cactus Valley with an army like this, you're like, what are you really gonna do? But on Palladino, because there's this one choke and otherwise there's rocks here, the only other pathways over here, it's still dangerous. Like, you know, my bad Protoss play, I wouldn't do it, but you see Protoss pro gamers do it all the time. They just kind of poke and prod, see if there's an opportunity. There really wasn't. Solar had already gotten such a huge drone count and has already gotten such a good army that you had to be very, very careful. But taking advantage of the choke of the natural on Palladino, the Banelings revealed themselves right before they had Baneling speed. And now that they do, they're just going to roll on home. Not going to look for any committal there. And I think that's a smart move. With the SimCity, with the map design, there was, I think, not a very likely chance those Banelings got the hits. But for a second, Zest might have been out of position, right? So it was worth trying. A lot of Immortals still on the way. Very, or pretty quick storm, I guess is a better way to put it. As well, like last series, like last game. Oracle alive. Still hasn't burned Revelation, it looks like. Just Pulsar beams. But it's still alive and still scouting. That's not an Overseer, that is a Drop Overlord. Okay. Only one is not too suspicious in the late game. Like, you'll deal with that with, like, you know, maybe even a single cannon. But if you see 4+, that's when you have to start worrying about Doom drops, of course, from the Zerg player. That doesn't seem to be on Solar's mind. Now, Solar did get an Infestation Pit, but it wasn't for Swarm Host this time. We have a Hive instead. Macro Hatchery as well. Oh, Baneling drops. There was no cannon in the natural, but quick pull on the probes means that only 8 died. There is a cannon in the main base. If this even distracts like 2 of those Banelings that come out of the Overlord, it's pretty worthwhile. But of course, Solar will be trying to focus fire as we continue him as we see him continuing to try and make these work. Zest had a probe lead, believe it or not, for a second there before he lost 8 probes, and Solar made 8 drones. Good scouts. Interesting. Usually if like a Terran Marine drop is scouted like that, you just take the loss and do other things. But dropping the Banelings is almost always going to get some damage done, right? That's the effective use of his micro, I think. Well, he got shields, of course, but there's a chance. Ultra Skyvan on the way. I figured he would use the Hive for more, you know, melee upgrades, and a Juno Lance is not too surprising to see, nor Carapace, as he already is at +2 melee weapons, and he's trying to get to Ultras. But, yeah, it is going to be emphasis on Ling, Ultra, even a Viper coming in here. Now, the Viper looks very odd. First of all, there's feedback. Second of all, it's a single Viper. So what is it really hoping to do? Is it going to, you know, abduct an Immortal or 2, or is it going to try and throw it on a blinding cloud? It's kind of only 2 options. It almost looks like he accidentally made it, but I don't think that's the case. +2 on the way, charge almost done. Ultras, I don't know. I mean, I kind of figured that was the way things were going, just based off his emphasis on Lings, right? Which the observers do see. I really like the observer coverage from Zest. Pretty cool. But to see Ultras versus Protoss, especially one, well, yeah, especially just in Protoss in general, I think. You know, usually Protoss do get double Immortal production. Usually they have double Robo production at the very least to get double Immortal production. And usually it doesn't work out so well versus Ultras. Oh, that was a huge stasis trap. Man, I didn't even see that. That is like most of the Lings right there. Some of them could probably run away, but that was nicely done. So anyways, right, the Immortals. Like, if you cut the Immortal count down and then swap the Ultras, that's, like, really good, right? And then the Stalkers can't really do anything. The Charge Lots kind of get melted. And Storm, like, okay, Storm, whatever, gets rid of the Lings, but still can't deal with the Ultras. Oh, and speaking of which... that's bad news. Really, Zest had an amazing composition, but I don't think he does anymore. Without those Immortals, Ultras with Chitinous Plating, which is going to finish like 6 seconds, but even without, is looking quite grim. This is, that was just questionable all over the place. Finally, some more Immortals come in here, and even an Archon as well. Ultra's dripping out a little bit to the north against those Archons. Viper comes in here and is looking for what it can do. I'm not sure what it can do. It can abduct an Immortal, I suppose. Or leave. But we had Zest with a serious case of F2s as well. The observers are in one place. Oracle goes down to the Queens. And while things got messier than I thought they would for Solar, after killing all of the Immortals almost like for free, it still ends up looking like what I predicted. He needs more Ling reinforcements as more Immortals are on the way. Zest, after all, is on 4 bases, but the fact that Solar took gonna make like a good fight after getting all the Immortals without having to sacrifice all of his Ultras, like that looks about right. Upgrade's currently at 2-1 versus 2-1. I like that Zest got the shield upgrade instead of the armor, as he was going for a lot of Archons. But Solar is on 5 bases, Zest 4, still very high on the work count for both players. And the game isn't over yet, despite Zest losing like 8 Immortals like he did. Abducts are used. Feedback does go down, but the Viper still lives. And it looks like this is just too much from Solar. Zest tried to hold on long enough to build that army back up, but not quite enough. GG. Thank you to Theron Dragon for the 2-year resub. Thank you guys for the adventure. Has that always been your name? Have you actually resubbed with us before? Because I feel like I haven't talked about your name enough and how Wheel of Time is cool. Or maybe I haven't, I'm just forgetting. Well. Regardless of that, that is it for Zest's run in the tournament. So he, unfortunately, will not be getting any cash, I don't think? Yeah. Only pay out through 3rd and 4th place. But Impact, looks like he default won over Hero. That's sad. And then Gumiho got a 2-1 win over Alive. So Solar will go on to face Gumiho, and still waiting on the winner of Hurricane and Patience to face off against Impact. So after this break, we'll be getting into a TVZ, Gumiho versus Solar.